This program was previously recorded.
I'm Shelley Johnson with Kathy Tuccaro. You can hear us Tuesdays on TNCRadio.live at 8 p.m. Eastern on Women Road Warriors. And don't miss Steve Summers' Overnight Drive right here on TNCRadio.live, weeknights midnight to 5 a.m. Eastern. Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
This is Heath Sanders, and you're listening to TNCRadio.live.
Ready for a music break? Did you know that you can use the TNCRadio.live app to hear the best in traditional country? Traditional country. You know, the good stuff from the 50s and 60s and on. Traditional country is more than a time period. It's a style and approach to music that we cherish. We have an incredible collection of songs that define country music and also sprinkle in some Western music, you know, cowboy music, bluegrass, Americana, and country gospel. Our TRUSA president and country Western music icon, Rex Allen Jr., also hosts an hour of music and memories. At TRUSA, we have a heart for the road and the heritage of country music. Wherever you roam, we hope you'll take us with you. Enjoy the ride on Truckers Radio USA. To listen to TRUSA Radio on the TNCRadio.live app, just click on the music button and then TRUSA.
Welcome in TNCRadio.live. This is Highway Fever. I'm Tom Kelly, and now here's your host, Charlie. How are you, Charlie?
I'm amazing, man. I am absolutely amazing. I'm so excited to be here on the network. And I want to thank everybody for their support, to all my truck drivers out there and all my friends and family that have tuned in. It's our hope you enjoy the show, you enjoy this network. A lot of great trucker content, news, information, sports. They got it all on this network. I'm just real excited, Tom. I'm excited.
So, Charlie, we just started working together here very recently, and so your full name is Charlie Claiborne. Do you like going by Chuck, Charles, Charlie? What do you like to be? How do you like to be called?
Everybody knows me, calls me Charlie or Charles, but I prefer Charlie.
You prefer Charlie. All right, good.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you located?
I live in Biloxi, Mississippi, 3 blocks from US 90 down here on the Gulf Coast.
Fantastic. So you got to worry about those hurricanes during hurricane season a little bit, huh?
Man, I got to tell you, we've really lucked out. We've lived here 12 years, and every major hurricane that was ever going to happen in the last 12 years completely missed our area. And like I said, I'm only 3 or 4 blocks from the water.
Yeah.
And we've never been in any danger whatsoever.
Well, we broadcast live from the shadow of the Johnson Space Center over here in Houston, Texas. We've had a couple in the last 12 years. But I tell you what, the folks in between us, Louisiana, oh my gosh, how many times have they been, it's headed right for you or it's headed right for me and the thing makes a left or a right and goes right up the middle of Louisiana? How many times has that happened in the last 12 years?
I'll tell you something right now. The last one that hit the coast down there last year, I was actually delivering a load of sand for a drilling rig in Port Fourchon, all the way down at the bottom, very bottom, on Route 1. And I was there the night the hurricane was starting to go out, pouring rain, guide wires down all along Route 1 because dispatch wasn't paying attention. And I got into Port Fourchon and the roads were closed. But believe it or not, they got me on location into Halliburton. And I had to wait till the next morning to unload. It's usually a 24-hour place. And had to wait because they had no power and couldn't unload me till they had light so they could see. But when the sun came up, Port Fourchon was gone. There was nothing there. The truck stop destroyed, buildings destroyed, harbor destroyed. Tom, I kid you not, there was literally a 40-foot, 50-foot shrimp boat in the middle of Route 1 where the toll booth is. Anybody that's listening has been down there. They know when you come across Route 1, make the turn and go up over the bridge, that boat was sitting right across the road when you made the right.
Amazing. Yeah, we of course, we had the near 60-inch rain here in Houston a few years back with Hurricane Harvey. Before that, we had Hurricane Ike back in 2008. That one was one that picked up a bunch of boats and scattered them all over the Houston area. I mean, right in the middle of I-45.
And you had some serious flooding that year. There were actually deaths down there on the interstate where they got caught in the flooding under the overpass.
Yeah,
I remember.
It was crazy. It was, but nobody could have predicted. I mean, they're like, well, how are we going to guard against this happening in the future? You don't guard against a 60-inch rain. Yeah, I mean, that's a 1 in 1,000 year, but it was an amazing thing. So I love living on the Gulf Coast, though.
It was a culture shock for my wife and myself and my family.
Yeah.
We love it here. We love the people. We love the culture. I can't say enough good things about it. I love it here.
You don't talk like you're from Mississippi.
No, because I'm originally from northern New York, way up north above Saratoga Springs in a little town called Glens Falls, Hudson Falls.
Wow. So Hudson Falls, why does that ring a bell?
All the big major paper plants. You got to remember that's the Adirondack Mountains.
Right,
that's trees, forests. Finch Prine Paper, International Paper.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest mills they own are in those areas. In Saratoga, Man of War, Seabiscuit. A lot of the most famous racehorses in the world have come out of Saratoga.
Yeah, so you hit it for me. International Paper. My dad worked for Bemis for many, many years, and his primary competitor was International Paper. And Bemis is based out of Minnesota, and they're you guys over there in the New York side. So I have heard of all that up there. Haven't been very far up in New York, not as far north as what you're talking about, but what the areas I've seen up and around New Hampshire, Vermont, and just to the just on the other side of the border there in New York, a beautiful area.
Hudson Falls is right on the border with Rutland, Vermont. You come down Route 4. I lived right on Route 4.
Okay, got
it. About 30 miles from my house, you cross into Rutland, Vermont.
We were up there a couple of years ago in October for watching all the leaves change, because we don't get to see that in Houston. We don't really have the leaves haven't started changing yet, really.
But we don't miss the snow. My wife and I do not miss the snow. We miss the leaves, but I don't think my son wore pants for 5 years until he was graduated from high school here and got a job. He flip-flops and shorts.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah, but we love it here.
Well, good. I'm glad. And you've been driving for more than a minute, huh?
32 years. I'm going to break 4 million miles shortly after the first of the year, I believe. They're tracking it.
Congratulations.
Never had a ticket, never had an accident. Spotless PSP, spotless drive. I believe that trucking is a profession, and I act accordingly. I try to represent the industry to the best of my ability every day, and I'm proud of my record. You get a lot of people say, well, you think you're better than me? No, I've just been lucky, right? Because in truck driving, it's not a matter of if you're going to have an accident, it's when.
Right.
And it may not be your fault. So I've just been very lucky and blessed.
It may not be your fault because who's going to get the blame?
Exactly. It's always the truck driver's fault, right?
Always the truck driver. You can be rear-ended by 4 cars and it's still somehow your fault.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's 4 million miles. Tip my cap to you. There's not a lot of people out there who have that record. Now I know there's a few that exceed that, but not a lot. Not a lot.
It's a thing that a lot of guys like me that have accomplished that, like you said, there's thousands upon thousands of guys who've done it, and my hat's off to them as well, because I know what it takes to get where I am today. 32 years ago, I was a scared kid that they threw the keys to a Freightliner FLD, put a load of roofing slate on it over there in Rutland, Vermont, and said it's got to be in Chicago Monday morning. I was terrified, but here I am today. I've been a trainer, I've been a teacher. I try to instill, good advice, good skills. I always try to teach my students the way I was taught. Like I said, trucking is my passion. And that's what led me to you in the end. I mean,
right.
If you look at how we met and the steps that got us to where we are at this moment, it was passion. You listened to the people that I surrounded myself with and said, hey, these guys are on fire. They got passion for what they believe in. I just love the industry. I want to make it a better place.
And I get that, and that comes through in everything that you do and that you say. Charlie, if somebody was going to write your biography and actually have asked you to invite somebody who could write your biography to join us in the next segment, but if they were going to write your biography, what would you want to make sure that they started with? They're going to start off and they're going to say Charlie was a
fighter.
A fighter?
A fighter. I've always been a fighter, always been a little bit of a lightning rod. But I've always, I hope they remember me for my compassion. I founded Convoy for the Kids and raised money for the Children's Miracle Network for years. Hundreds, 500, 600 trucks showed up every year to do the parade and the convoy and raise money for kids with cancer. I always stood up when I saw something that wasn't right in our industry. I always tried to look out for I always thought you're your brother's keeper, right? You've got to, if you start the day off in a bad mood, you walk into the truck stop and you frown at everybody. I always try to get out of my truck, go inside with a smile. I try to hold the door for people. I try to get out of my truck and help somebody back into a bad spot. I've tried to be my brother's keeper, and I have failed at times, but I'm human. We all fail. Sometimes the things get overwhelming. In our industry, many people right this moment are disheartened. And I understand that because I've been there. What happens is that frustration turns into anger. Anger turns into acting without thinking. You let your passion override and your emotion override common sense, right? And a lot of times this industry is very reactive and they're not proactive. So again, the things I'm trying to do is make them proactive, teach them the best ways to address their elected representatives. There are people that say it's too light-footed and we need to put the hammer down. We've tried that, and that is an unsuccessful, guaranteed disaster. You just.
Now the only thing left for me to do is run.
The numbers, right? You get enough people calling, writing, showing up, putting in the work, calling their legislature, then things start to happen. It's the old theory about being stung by one bee versus being stung by 1,000 bees. Which is worse, So we need to build some unity, some camaraderie, and some trust.
Sure.
Trust. And I think that's that organization that I'm part of, NADRA. I think that's a first step. And I am proud to be a member of NADRA. And I can't believe the difference between other groups I've been part of, other events I've been part of, versus the 50 people that serve on that council and how thoughtful they are about their industry.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about the NADRA and several other things, too. Just real quickly, before we go to our first break here, I was talking to some folks over at TMAF the other day, and they were giving us some stats from a recent survey of people across America. And they were asking them to rank the essential workers. Who are the essential people that you need in America right now.
I was shocked by those results.
Did you see that?
I was shocked.
Did you see that?
Yes, I did. You go ahead and tell the people because they won't believe you, but it was an actual survey.
Yeah, but medical people came in first, doctors, nurses. Okay, yeah, I think we all agree with that. Strangely enough, number 2 were people who operate grocery stores. And I guess that, after the pandemic, you realized how much you really need that local grocery store, Piggly Wiggly, Kroger, whatever it is that you have. Number 3, and real close number 3, truck drivers.
They said that right now 96% of the American population considers this essential and supports what we do for the country. That's a big number. That's the biggest number we've ever had. Yeah,
I mean that is really, really exciting, and we had them on the other day talking about all of that. Let's see, 87% have a favorable impression of the trucking industry, as opposed to pre-pandemic, it was 67%.
It's amazing, isn't it? When there's an emergency, a disaster, or a pandemic, the truck drivers and the people in transportation come through every time.
Most people believe that truck drivers, 72% believe that truck drivers are safe. When asked about truck drivers, 96% of Americans stated that they are essential to keeping the country's economy moving. They get it.
Amen.
They finally get
yes,
it.
Sir.
How about that? Hey, we're going to take a quick break, step out for just a moment. We're going to be right back. You're listening to TNCRadio.live. This is Highway Fever with Charlie Claiborne. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Dangerous weather conditions. Driving in the rain creates difficult and dangerous driving conditions for truckers. It's important for truck drivers to be alert and cautious when driving in the rain. Check out our 6 safety tips for truck drivers while driving in the rain. Slow down. Wet roads make it difficult for a driver to control their truck. A good rule of thumb is to drive 5 miles per hour below the speed limit. In some cases, you might have to drive more than 5 miles an hour below. Professional truck drivers adjust their speed according to the weather. When driving in dangerous conditions, only drive the speed you're comfortable with. Leave space. Leaving the appropriate amount of space between each vehicle will give a truck driver enough time to react. A fully loaded tractor trailer traveling at 65 miles an hour needs about 5 seconds of space to stop. Drivers will have to increase the space between the cars while driving in dangerous weather conditions. Maintain your vehicle. Having your vehicle routinely checked will make driving in the rain more safe. Frequently check your truck's tires to make sure they have enough tread. Also, check your windshield wipers to see if they're working properly. Avoid standing water. Driving through standing water increases the chance of hydroplaning. Hydroplaning causes a driver to lose control of the truck and can result in serious injuries. Standing water also hides potholes and other debris that might be on the road. It's important to always avoid standing water while driving in the rain. Wear your seatbelt. Wearing a seatbelt is a requirement for all truckers, especially in dangerous weather conditions. Eliminate distractions. While driving in the rain, eliminate all distractions. If you drive with the radio on, turn the volume low so you can concentrate. Avoid touching your GPS or looking at it for long periods of time, and avoid using your cell phone. This vlog on TNCRadio.live has been brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
Don't forget, you can hear all of our TNC Radio primetime shows again on our podcasts. Just go to tncradio.live/podcasts or search for tncradio.live wherever you listen to podcasts.
Join Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time for Women Road Warriors on your driver navigation station, tncradio.live.
Welcome back in. It's Highway Fever with Charlie Claiborne. I'm Tom Kelly, and we have with us on the phone line John Neesmith. Charlie, introduce us to John. Who's John?
John has been a dear friend to me in many ways for many years. He's a guy I look up to. He's an owner-operator. I was employed by John, and I got to know him really well. Always been a constant source of positivity. I believe he's passionate about the trucking industry. He's certainly extremely passionate about some of the recent problems we're looking at. But all-around good guy. And like I said, I had to choose somebody to tell a little bit about me other than myself. And I wanted someone that would shoot straight from the hip and, kind of tell people from his perspective.
Well, John, I'm just getting to know Charlie here a bit, and I know a lot of our listeners know him. A lot of listeners don't know him. So this is your opportunity to help me introduce Charlie to the listening audience. So tell us, John, who is this guy, and why should we care what he has to say?
Well, that's an interesting question. He said he looks up to me. That's kind of I don't know. It's not because I'm that great of a guy. I mean, we do have a height difference. I'm a little taller than he is, but I appreciate all the kind words from him. For the people that know Charlie, I mean, I don't know who Charlie is. I mean, it's Chuck or Little Buddy or a few other choice words at times, but for the people that know him and have had interactions with him, I mean, he's kind of hot or cold. I mean, people either love him or they hate him, but the problem is the people that hate him, they can't walk away. He's an interesting guy. He always has facts. He'll hurt your feelings. He'll make you mad, but you can't really nail it down that it's not the right thing, because he's always talking about the right thing. And so, you know, he's kind of like that politician kind of guy that, you know, you either love him or hate him, but everybody still wants to hear what he has to say. I think that would kind of sum it up really, really short. I mean, he, no matter how you take him, I can tell you honestly from knowing him personally, outside of trucking things and outside of advocacy and even outside of, you know, what you might assume, I've never known him to have an ill intention at all. He's really passionate about what he says and what he thinks and how he cares about things. And how you receive it is just how you receive it. But I've never known him to intentionally try to lead anyone in a bad direction.
Gotcha. And I think that's important in today's world where it just seems like people are looking to have an argument just for the sake of having an argument. I mean, the things that they argue about on social media and in the press and it's just, it's crazy. It's ridiculous. And, you know, we lack leadership right now in this country. I'm not saying anything that I think anybody would disagree with, right? Now, does anybody think we have strong leadership in either party? And by the way, in case anybody's wondering, I dislike all politicians equally. I mean, a pox on both your houses, and I mean that to the Senate, the Congress, Republicans, Democrats. None of you are leading us well right now. Nobody is. I'm not impressed with anybody.
I can agree with that.
Okay, none of you are impressing me at this point. We need leadership, and that's one of the reasons that I was anxious to get Charlie back on the air here, is that we need leadership, not just within the trucking industry, but just leadership across the board. And I see Charlie as a leader.
Well, that's interesting because the first conversation I ever had with him, I became acquainted with him over social media, which I'm not really big on. I'm really not. And I had kind of lost touch with the ins and outs of trucking, even though I've trucked for 38 years and still do and am right now. I didn't follow social media that well. And then when the ELD fight came along, my wife, she was on Facebook, and she started saying, hey, you know, there's some guys on Facebook that's, you know, talking about fighting this thing and, you know, rallying up and all that. So I got interested and started watching it. And I was a little encouraged because when the conversation went away on the CB radio, you know, several years back, I thought, well, you know, it's just dead. People do what they do. And so it really, I was kind of encouraged to see it all over social media, and I was just watching all the players. Oh my goodness! I mean, they were all over the board, and like you say, social media. It was kind of like the old CB radio, but on steroids. You know, anonymity, picking at each other, you know, one-upping and all of that. And so I was watching all these guys doing live videos and talking about things, and then I ran across this little guy from down in Mississippi, and he caught my attention, and I said, that's the guy. That is the guy. That if enough people would listen to that line of thinking, maybe something could be done. And so I started watching him and keeping up with what was going on with him. And, of course, then I seen some of the people that would attack, because they all attacked each other. It was like a circle firing squad. And some way or another, I acquired his phone number. And he was stepping back, because he steps in and tries to do a really solid job with something. And then all the attacks come, and, it's kind of like being a martyr. And you get beat down. And I mean, he's done it. I've learned that since then, that he's done it for several years, and it just wore him out. And so when he kind of took a step back and said, look, I'm not doing this, it's not worth it. I called that number that I had found for him, and sure enough, he answered the phone. I recognized the voice immediately. And speaking of leadership, that was one of the first things I said to him. I said, you say you're going to quit. And he goes, oh yeah, I'm done. And he said, the other guy, he's the leader. This one says they're the leader. They got more following. And I said, well, let me tell you something, Charles. The leader, whether you want it to be, whether you like it, it doesn't matter. The leader truly is who the majority of people are willing to follow. And you have a responsibility for the people that are following you. You can't just step back and leave them. They've decided to follow your line of thinking and what you're putting out. And so I kind of encouraged him, and we just kind of built from there. And to the day, I mean, it's still the same thing. I talk to him a lot. He talks to me, bounce ideas off. I hear all the things that go around, the good things and the bad things that always come around. And I always just encourage him, and the leader is who the people will follow.
Exactly.
You don't choose to be a leader.
Yeah, we have a lot of people who, in corporate America, a lot of people have manager, senior manager, vice president in the title, and all. I always look for who is the leader, not the person with the biggest title. Who's the leader? Right. And as we look at the NADRA, as we look at other things Charlie has done, we see him leading, and that's why we want to get the voice out here and get him talking to us about all of the different things that are going on in this industry right now, because there's no shortage of topics that need to be dealt with. We need to come together. We need to work as a unit. Look at all the stuff that's going on with the quarterbacks in the NFL. You guys are football guys, right?
A little bit. Follow it enough to know.
Yeah. You're not a successful quarterback if your team doesn't like you. If you can't work with your team, if they don't trust you, if they don't respect you, and they don't want to follow you, it's awfully hard to say, hey, go over here, run this route, I'm going to throw the ball to you. Whatever. Every great team has a great leader, and the trucking industry needs some great leadership right now, because right now, if I was to say who are the leading people in the trucking industry, any names pop?
I'll tell you, I make that easy. Without a doubt, I've been, like John said, I've been doing this as an advocate for 25 years. I've been around the block. But this group at NADRA, this council of 50 people, these are the people. These are the people that have set aside their differences, set aside the petty squabbles. They work things out together. They set goals. They accomplish them. This group, like I said, I'm very proud. It's inspired me to do what I'm doing with you, Tom, because like John said, you can only get attacked so much, because I don't know if it's jealousy or it's people misunderstand or what it is, but it happens. It happens to all of us. There are times when you see something going south, you don't want to be on a ship that's going down. You don't want to be dragged to the bottom of the ocean with an anchor around your neck because people can't work together. This group of people at NADRA is compassionate, kind, loyal, thoughtful. They work together. This is the group that if they can hold firm the way they've held so far, and they get through the 6-month period, this is the group to watch. Those folks at NADRA, I am not their leader. They let me speak. They allowed me to be the president I'm trying to lead them by example and encourage them to do the things they do. And that is a powerful thing. But I am a member of that organization. I am a part of the team. And I'm telling you, NADRA, that's the group to watch.
All right,
those guys right there.
We're going to talk more about the NADRA here when we come back in just a couple of minutes. While we're on break here, we've got a little song. Tell me about this song that you got out here for us tonight.
A friend of mine, Terry Woolley, wrote that song for me back when we took the trucks to Washington, D.C. in 2007 over the high price of fuel. And he's always been a big supporter. He was a great friend. And Highway Fever kind of sums up how a driver feels behind the wheel every day.
Got it. John, thank you so much for joining us and helping us to meet Charlie and get to know him a little bit better. We appreciate you joining. And starting next week, we'll have the phone lines open more. We'll have more people calling in. But wanted to just get somebody who doesn't have a dog in the hunt who could come up and say, hey, this is who this guy is. And I really appreciate your input, John.
Not a problem at all. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. So we're going to take a little break here. We're going to start off with a little music and check in with Dr. Chris, and we'll be back here in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to TNC Radio.live. This is Highway Fever with Charlie Claiborne. Stay tuned.
Temperature's rising, my palms a little sweaty. Slow down, I'm hauling, might be a little heavy. Dodging all the scales and I'm running in the left lane. Having my breakfast from a coffee cup, running hammer down since the sun came up. I just dropped the load and I'm headed back to Wickman. I'm running coast to coast on the interstate, hauling heavy loads and they can't be late. Ain't no doubt about it, no place that I'd rather be. Highway fever got a hold of me. Highway fever, the smell of rubber burning, and the blacktop big wheels are turning. Downshift, upshift, right lane, left lane, making my living out on the highway. Checking out the speed, I'm running 80 miles an hour. It's highway fever, highway fever. I got a high-tech cab and a turned-up motor. See me coming, better move it on over. You can wave goodbye to my tail lights. 27 days sitting out on the road, long, long time for me to be gone. You can bet your rig I'll be home tonight. Running coast to coast on the interstate, hauling heavy loads and they can't be late. Ain't no doubt about it, there's no place that I'd rather be. Highway fever got a hold of me. Highway fever, the smell of rubber burning, and the blacktop big wheels are turning. Downshift, upshift, right lane, left lane, making my living out on the highway. Checking out the speed, I'm running 80 miles an hour. It's highway fever, highway fever. Plate lunch special and a slice of apple pie. Truck stop, you catch my eye. I'm rolling out early and I'm hauling long, while cranking up another trucking song. Highway fever, smell of rubber burning, and the blacktop big wheels are turning. Downshift, upshift, right lane, left lane, making my living out on the highway. Checking out the speed, I'm running 80 miles an hour. Highway fever, highway fever. Checking out the speed, I'm running 80 miles an hour. It's highway fever, highway fever.
Where do feelings come from? Most people think feelings come from their situations, what's happening in their lives, or they think they come from other people. And they say things like, you make me love you, or you piss me off. They hand all the responsibility to other people. But I have news for you. It's not situations. It's not other people. It's not circumstances. Feelings come from the way I perceive the world, from the way you perceive the world. Our perceptions of the world create emotion. Let me give you my very favorite example. A 65-year-old gentleman walks into my office on a Tuesday morning. And I say to him, how's it going? And he says, oh, not good, Doc, not good. And I say, well, what's going on? And he says, my daughter, she didn't call me, no card, nothing for Father's Day. How is he feeling? He's feeling hurt. He's feeling rejected. He's feeling unimportant. He's feeling unappreciated. He's wounded, and he's angry, and he's resentful. His perception is, with all the things I have done for my daughter over the years to support her and promote her, pay for her college, she skunks me for Father's Day. I looked him in the eyes and I said, Brian, Father's Day's next Sunday. Within a second, Brian laughed. He was amused. He was embarrassed. He was hopeful. All of his emotions changed in a split second. How did that happen? Not because the facts changed. The facts were Father's Day was on the calendar for the next weekend the entire time. The one thing that changed was his perception of the facts. He went from thinking, she doesn't care, I'm unimportant, I don't matter to her, to, oops, Father's Day is next weekend. She hasn't thought any of those things. Changing your thinking, changing your perception, changes your feelings. In the next Mental Health Minute, we're going to talk about some things that also create and contribute to our emotions.
Hear the best of TNCRadio.live every night. It's TNC Radio Primetime. Interviews, music, information, and news you can use every night, 7 to 9 Eastern, 6 to 8 Central, TNC Radio Primetime.
For the latest in traffic, weather, and information, catch the Morning Grind weekdays right here on TNCRadio.live. Welcome back in TNC Radio.live. This is Highway Fever with Dr. I just gave you a promotion. Dr. Charlie Claiborne. Okay. With Charlie Claiborne. Happy to have you with us here on a Thursday night. We're live tonight, December the 1st, 2022. Charlie, so you've mentioned the NADRA, and not all the listeners. Now, we've been talking a lot about it on the station here for the last week or two or three, however long it's been. But for those who maybe they didn't get the message yet, what is the NADRA and why should a driver even care?
Let me think about that. I want to sum this up the best way I can. First, NADRA is founded by drivers with a round table style way of doing things, right? So there's 50 members on the council. That's important to know because all of those folks of the 50 took the time to send an email to Matt Kilmer and Jason Vind. Those two guys are the reason I'm here. Matt Kilmer and Jason Vind made a TikTok video about bringing the industry together first before we could accomplish anything, right? So these people, Jason and Matt and myself, get together. We form the NADRA, I was extremely hesitant. I didn't want another trucking organization. I didn't want to be part of another do nothing, go nowhere. Everybody's talking, but nothing's happening. So I gave it a couple weeks. I said, I'll give these guys 3 weeks and see what happens. And I watched it blossom. Every one of these 50 people sent an email. They wanted to be part of something. And I say 50, but there were hundreds of people. There's no way to vet and go through hundreds of people. And if you get a council bigger than 50, you're going to lose control. But I'll tell you right now, I watched these 50 people on Zoom work together, take turns, speak. I've never seen that in my life in a trucking Zoom meeting, ever. They vote. Each person in the council votes on how we're moving forward, what we're doing. So the roundtable approach is what's different. The other thing that sets them apart is it's not just for owner-operators. This is for company drivers who are grossly unrepresented in our industry. And owner-operators, lease purchase. It doesn't matter their race, their religion, the color of their skin, their monetary worth, what they drive, what kind of clothes they wear. If you're a driver, you matter to this group of people. As we were saying in the break, I have never experienced in all my years of advocacy a group of people that are more thoughtful. We'll talk about it on the show later and other shows, but a lot of the things they're doing to build team, to inspire people to work together. You have to have team building, trust, and transparency before people will follow you. Listen to what you say. You have to earn their trust. And I believe that's what NADRA is doing, is building trust, camaraderie, and trying to show people if we, like I said, you get stung by one bee, it's not so bad. But if you get stung by 100,000 bees, people start to pay attention. And the message we're trying to send at NADRA is you have a voice, make it count. Make your voice count. And the 10,000 truck to DC thing, it's a great team building thing for the industry. I know there are hundreds upon hundreds of people that got these trucks and are mailing them to the Secretary of Transportation. By the way, all that information on the 10,000 truck to DC is on our website at NADRA2022.com. The first round of trucks went out in the mail today. So there's two ways to look at this. There are people that wanted to be negative and say, it's not going to work. It's silly. It's going to fail. Listen, this exercise didn't fail. Do you know why? Because it made that folks within NADRA and the people that are following us and the people that are choosing to work together, it made them stronger. So if we only get 5,000 toy trucks or 1,000 toy trucks, not only did we build our team stronger, which is going to allow us to work better together and serve the industry, but look at all the children that are going to get a toy that might not have got a toy for Christmas. Underprivileged kids, the Marine Corps is going to give these toys out. We've sent out press releases to hold the DOT accountable so that the toys end up with the Toys for Tots. We've notified news media who have gotten back to Matt Kilmer, NBC, some other places. They're very interested in the story. It might have something to do with the upcoming looming rail mess. I don't know. But they see this organization working together and doing something positive. It's a win. So even if we don't get 10,000 trucks, this is a win for our organization, and it's making them stronger so that they can go out and do the real work. That's what we did. That's what we accomplished. That's a win.
We've seen a lot of these organizations kind of come and go. What is the secret to the success that you're seeing already here? What's going to make this different than those that? And you said some of this off the air, so I'm trying to get you to say it on the air. What's the secret sauce here?
There is no secret sauce. Here's what's going on. There's people in the kitchen all the time, right? In the other organizations, they're putting ingredients into the mix, and then the house burns down because they put the wrong ingredients in, right? So the house burns down. What NADRA did is they took people like me and put us in a position where we can lead and teach and be part of it. People like John, who you heard from, we've been around these things. We know what ingredients to not put in the sauce. Okay. So they're learning from the mistakes of other organizations. What usually tears these organizations apart in the beginning, because I'm human, I've been part of them, they failed. They failed horribly. I don't care if it's taking 500 trucks to DC or 100 trucks to DC or these rallies, slow rolls. They have the right intention, but they produce zero results and they fail. There's no foundation. There's no clear message. There's no camaraderie. Clear message is one thing. If you're going to do something like that, you need to have a constant source of information. You have to have information you can trust. All right. So our organization is holding themselves accountable. We have a code of conduct that every member has signed. We hold the board and the council to a higher standard than the membership, as it should be. Right. So the foundation was built. The foundation was laid. They've taken steps. They've done things that when we say grassroots, let's use the term grassroots, Tom, all right? Because everyone can relate to that. 90% of the grassroots organizations that have been built failed because there was no foundation. They didn't believe in transparency. They couldn't work together, and egos always got in the way. NADRA, like I said, I have never seen anything like the people that were every day getting another email. Hey, count me in. I want to be in. And it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows, because when you do the right things start to happen. And Matt, Jason, Bob Murphy, Candace, Ethan, all these names you see on the website, they understand this is new. Their patients are going to be tested even by each other. But what they do is they work through those things, man. They talk about it. Someone has a problem with the way a press release is worded. It's a little frustrating, but what do? They get someone who knows a little bit about it. They work through it together. They make the adjustments. They finally agree on it, and they release the product. I mean, teamwork, accountability, transparency, honesty. They have it. And like I said, I believe this is the group to watch going into the new year. I think they're going to accomplish a lot of things.
I think they're going to accomplish an amazing number of things. Hey, we got to take one more quick break. We're going to step out for just a couple of minutes and come back. We're going to wrap things up. You're listening to TNCRadio.live. This is Highway Fever with Charlie Claiborne. We'll be right back. TNCRadio.live. Stay tuned.
8 fun facts about truckers. It may be likely that when asked about your driving career and what all it involves, you're able to rattle off some answers like far from home, little sleep, heavy loads, big rigs, lots of waiting, gas stops and rest stops. But there is so much more to the freight industry that you should appreciate yourself for. Number 1, and so it began. A German-American blacksmith named Charles Fruoff invented the first tractor-trailer back in 1914. He needed a way to transport his boat. Number 2, now hiring. In the United States alone, 8.9 million people have a job in the trucking industry. 3.5 million of these are truck drivers. Number 3, the roots with a growing job. The trucking industry is soaring. Since this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, it's worth serious consideration as a stable career for anyone looking for an exciting change in job security. You go, girl. Only 6%, or a total of 234,000, truck drivers are women. Women are rarely the first to come to mind when we think about truck drivers, but these tough women are embracing the new family dynamics the pandemic has presented to all of us and taken on careers to keep their families and America rolling. Number 5, time to fuel up. There are about 15.5 million active trucks in the United States trucking industry, and the average commercial truck consumes over 20,000 gallons of fuel each year. Number 6, less pollution is the solution. Because of clean diesel technology, 60 modern-day trucks put out the equivalent emission of a single truck from 1988, and emissions from heavy trucks have been cut over 95% in the past 2 decades due to EPA regulations. Thank you, science. We can all breathe easier. Number 7, shoot for the stars. You'll land on the moon. There are close to 16 million active trucks in the United States, with over 3.5 million truckers behind the wheels. This means that if you could pile up the vehicles, they'd reach the moon. Number 8, home away from home. Truck drivers spend more than 240 nights away from home each year. Small business truckers drive more than 3 million miles in their lifetime, which breaks down to a yearly average of more than 115,000 miles. Catch Mind Your Trucking Business Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern with James Rogers, Jamie Irvine, and Tom Kelly. They provide expert advice about starting, operating, and growing a professional trucking business. It's Mind Your Trucking Business on TNCRadio.live.
You're listening to TNCRadio.live. Remember to tune into the Truckers Network radio show with Shelley Johnson, weekdays at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
Welcome back in, TNCRadio.live. Hey, Charlie, I can't even ask you, what do you think about your walk-in music? You like it?
I love the way the whole thing's laid out and working. I am, like I said, I'm blessed. I'm happy to be here. I'm looking forward to the future with this network. I really am.
Well, good. And I think we've had an opportunity tonight for people to get to know a little bit about who you are and what it is that you're bringing to the table. Tell me again, for those who, again, not everybody out there has heard of the NADRA, and what if they want to know more, what do they need to do? Where do they go?
They go to NADRA2022.com. NADRA2022.com.
2022, as in the year 2022.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. And it's the numbers. You don't spell out 2022. It's NADRA
2022.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. .com. And from their website that has all sorts of information about who's doing what you're trying to accomplish, all that kind of good stuff there, right?
Everything you need to know about our organization is on that website.
Everything you need to know. Okay.
And one thing I forgot to mention is what's really cool about NADRA is they're bilingual, right? We have Spanish-speaking people, we have French-speaking people, we have some people that speak Mandarin, and we brought so many people into this organization that if you speak Spanish or you speak French, Canadian, because again, we have members from Canada. Sure. Gidget is Canadian. So we're bilingual, and we have people available to give that message in another language.
Fantastic. That's great. That's great to know. So the NADRA, we're going to be talking a lot about them in the weeks and months and years to come right here on this program. Charlie, I'm going to give the last minute to you here. What do you want to say to those who are listening for the first time? What can they expect from this show going forward?
Man, we're going to have all kinds of information. We're going to give people facts. We're going to give them figures. We're going to challenge some of the issues. We're going to discuss these issues, and we're going to work together to solve some of these problems. You know, we're going to have DOT officers, compliance people come on the show, answer your questions, talk about the issues, and we're going to get some answers. We're going to try to get some results, and we're going to learn to work together. That's what we're going to do first. We're going to learn to work together and build trust. And I'm hoping I can earn that. It's been a great night. This was my introduction to everybody listening about who I am, what I believe, what I stand for, what I support. So I'm looking forward to the next episode, and I hope you join me here on Highway Fever on the TNC Radio Live. And man, it's been a great night. Thank you for everything you do, Tom. Thank you to my faithful listeners and my friends, and we'll catch you next week here on Highway Fever.